Hey YouTube, what's up? This is the reluctant Nobby back in. Back to bring you some seriousness. Alright, new intro beat. I'm trying them all, y'all. Making them and breaking them. So what's up to my YouTube fam out there? Let me say, Ola Gudak, Oi to the Bang, Bosses Los, Bonjour, Mes Amis, Kedu, Bawani, Habardan Hadu, Konnichiwa, Nihao Niama, Sani Bonani, Jumbo Habarigani, Assalamu alaikum and Shalom. To my brother Dwight out there, what's up, what's up, what's up? Alright, and y'all know tomorrow I'm gonna have to do a live story on all of this. So I'm down here just tripping. And just going through YouTube, just looking at some stuff, right? So I'm gonna tone it down a little bit. And I'm gonna just let this go like this. So I've been saying for a long time, what this dude has now gone to the white people and just put out there in the public. Now, the people that are starting to pay attention to this are the Africans. Because while I do not do videos about what white women do, because I haven't talked to a white woman to know what she do. And from my dealings with at least Hispanic women, at least on the surface, they are even more polite to me and are nicer to me about the things that I do, even though much of what I do for the black community, and much of what I was doing was being done primarily for the black woman. All right. So something is definitely wrong and evil with the black woman. We all know that. And I kept saying that for a while, from the hair on her head to where she go on a Sunday, that she worships demons, and you can't tell her no different. Now, across the pond, as we say, the African men were having the same problem. Why is it that black women so willingly gravitate towards evil? Oh, worship. Worship. This is to try to shame the black man into worshiping her by bringing the oppressors and destroyers and the enemy to the good black men into the community to subjugate the black man to the worship and worship over her. Here's the difference. If the black woman could get you to be oppressed by the white man in his system, she could then, in your weakened state, get you to go to church with her and listen to her pastor. In other words, she becomes the ruler over the house by default. Well, apparently some of the Africans got a hold to Mr. Joseph Atwell, and that they got a hold to his books and stuff, and found out that he has evidence that Jesus was created to brainwash and dominate black people, the melanated people. This includes the Americans and the Africans. All right, ancient confession found. We invented Jesus Christ to brainwash and dominate Africans. This was what the Romans were saying, but I did a bunch of videos on this, right? Too bad a lot more Africans are not watching my channel, or they may have been able to learn this, at least a minute. American Bible scholar Joseph Atwill will be appearing before the British public for the first time in London on the 19th of October to present a controversial new discovery. The reason why it's controversy, because it is direct evidence, and he's bringing evidence to circumvent people's feelings. Ancient confession really recently uncovered now prove, according to Atwill, that the New Testament was written by first century Romans or Roman aristocrats, and that they fabricated the entire story of Jesus Christ. Ruh-roh! Now, you can go to therealafrican.com. That's where I saw this story. All right. And basically, their subheadline, if you want to talk to Africa, talk to real African. Talk to the real African. Now, in all of that, they're not the only real melanated people here. All right. And their women sold out to the white man as much as our women did. And so you don't got many real dark skinned Africans running around. You got more than here. All right. But we were taught to be ashamed of it. And the women are still trying to teach that. Why? So that they could try to brainwash them boys and get worship. All right. And since the black man won't worship them, they think that the white man will. And the white man is using them to get a toehold to really circumvent Africa away from the black men. So while they've been following this white image, and this is why the black women follow such a white image. All right? They follow it thinking that if they follow this white demon, that they could subdue their man. Evil. Evil not only on the surface, but everywhere else. All right? And so, here we go. Let's get into this. Let's get into this. Let's get into this deep. All right? All right, so Atwell's presentation will be part of a one-day symposium entitled Covert Messiah at Conway Hall in Holborn. Although to many scholars, his theories seem outlandish, right? And that's because the scholars themselves are outlandish, because the scholars are paid to try to use their scholarly duties, like in government, to keep the people brainwashed. Because they know that we won't study anything for ourselves. We will say, according to the scholars. I don't say, I'll use things from people I learned, but everything on my channel that I do is according to what I found out. And that's why I present it to everybody in a manner in which I do, instead of talk at you. Because I want you to read and be able to follow what I found out, so that when you tell people something and you form your opinions and or facts, you say according to you. I'm not trying to get a bunch of followers. I'm trying to talk to all the leaders and the people that are thinkers and expose them to things that would cause them to expand their thought process. Period. That's what I do. All right, I'll call you my listeners. Some might be fans, all right, but I refer to you as my listeners because you're the people that listen to me. However, when y'all start writing, I start learning as much from you as you learn from me. See, that's why I like to read the comment section. I really look forward to reading the comment section to see what my viewers have to say because I know I have some of the most intelligent viewers on YouTube. And I'm not talking about book intelligent or anything like that because that's not intelligence. Most of that is brainwashing. I'm talking about intelligence based on wisdom, a whole other different animal, right? So he goes on and he goes on to say this. Although many scholars in this theory seems outlandish, and it is sure to upset some believers, Atwill regards his evidence as conclusive, and his confidence, its acceptance, is only a matter of time. Now, let me tell you something about his evidence. His evidence is evidence, and he's arguing with people that's arguing their feelings. All right. And so that's why his theory seems outlandish because his theory is based on evidence, while their whole premise for believing what they're believing is based on, well, simply believing. All right. He goes on and he quote, and a quote from him: I present my work with some ambivalence as I do not want to directly cause Christians any harm. So now he has to guard their feelings. This is how pathetic a Christian is. That when you're about to give them some facts, you got to guard their feelings, is because they are sucker born, baby-fied, evil demon worshippers. Anytime you cannot talk honestly to somebody about evidence to something, then there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with them. All right. He acknowledges, but this is important for our culture. Alert citizens need to know the truth about our past so that we can understand how and why government creates false histories and false gods. Holy crap, there it is. Now, in consternation, he's talking about the New Testament. Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. These are the three. They often do it to attain a social order that is against the best interests of the common people. Why did the government give us Christianity? It gives them a social order that is against the best interests of the common people. Why? Because Christians don't think for themselves. Pastors think for them. The Pope think for them. And the Pope is the first Christian and the original Christian. Everybody else is an offshoot of the Catholic Church. So, I present the creators of the New Testament, the Flavians, Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. Domitian. Or is it Domitian? Here they are. Um, Atwill asserts that Christianity did not really begin as a religion, but a sophisticated government project, a kind of propaganda exercise used to pacify subjects of the Roman Empire. Now, I will tell you, and they use Jewish, but there's no such thing as Jewish, because as I told you in the earlier video, the J is a letter that's only 500 years old. All right, that it did not exist. The word Jewish did not exist. The Israelites or the Hebrews, which mean black people that followed the Most High, monotheistic in who we follow, but polytheistic in the powers that were above our own. In other words, we were familiar with the Watchers. All right, we were familiar with the all the elements of the hierarchy of the heavenly hosts. We were familiar with all of them. But we knew that we followed Yahweh. Because Yahweh is the one that set the commandments in our hearts. So you follow the Yahweh by following the commandments. Right now, the problem is when you rise up against us for following the commandments, we will fight you and defeat you in battle. So in order to gain an upper hand, you had to weaken us in our minds. And there we go with the Flavians coming and inventing Christianity. All right. So here is part of the problem. And the reason why we fell into this belief system, because Jewish put Hebrew or Israelite sects in Palestine, and also Egypt at the time, who were waiting on a prophesied warrior Messiah, were a constant source of violent insurrection during the first century. He explains. When the Romans had exhausted conventional means of squashing the rebellion, which they could not, they switched to psychological warfare. And that's what Christianity is: psychological warfare against the people that follow the Most High. They surmised that the way to stop the spread of zealous prophets, which they refer to as Jewish missionary, the way to stop the Messiahs and the prophets, okay, because Messiahs or Messiahs were plentiful in that day. All right. Messiahs are warriors. All right. And they war against people that attack. They gather the people to return war against people that would attack us because we follow the Most High. All right. So to continue, zealous Jewish, all right, let's say Hebrew prophets and Messiahs activity was to create competing belief systems. All right. That's when the peaceful Messiah story was invented. Instead of inspiring warfare, this Messiah urged to turn the other cheek, pacifism, and encouraged the Jews to give unto Caesar and pay their taxes to Rome. Hence the lie, render unto Caesar's that which is Caesar's. All right. Here, they go on to say Jesus Christ may be the only fictional character in literature whose entire life story can be traced to other sources, mainly to what was being practiced in Egypt. All right. And some of you might be familiar with the laws of Hammurabi. All right. So you have the laws of Hammurabi. You have, here's the thing, all these existed before Christianity. And the laws of Hammurabi, the commandments, would be a sword, a thorn in the side of Rome, always. The reason why this is a thorn in the side of Rome is because people have their own mind and they have the spirit of the Most High. So whenever wickedness came into the thing, we were quick to cut it off. So most of Rome was wicked at the time. Remember, during this time, Nero was the person running things. He was the Caesar. And they spread wickedness and evil throughout. And that's what the Israelites and Hebrews were fighting, both in Egypt and in Jerusalem. Both in Egypt and in Jerusalem. When the Romans defeated the Caesar line, right? Because of Cleopatra and her evil. The next thing, the other reason why they couldn't control the people in Egypt was because of the Israelites that were still there and the Hebrews. Remember, you have Israelites and Hebrews, which followed the will of the Most High. So when Vespasian went and sacked Israel and Jerusalem, they had to turn to the north and like, what in the hell is going on in Egypt? So Nero was like, can you do something about Egypt? They didn't realize that this thing was just going to keep on coming because us black melanated people were not playing this game of Rome, following their gods in our land. And that was the real problem. They could not get us to bow down to their God until they turned their God and their image of their God into a God that our women readily follow. Because here's the thing, they did like everybody else. They got to the women, eliminated the men in war, mixed married, and then got the women to follow this Christianity that they came up with, and the women taught it to the children. And so they played the long game. They say, corrupt the woman, and we can corrupt their mankind. What did the serpent say in the garden? Corrupt the women, and we can corrupt mankind. Now, was Jesus based on a real person from history? The short answer is no. Atwill insists. In fact, it may be the only fictional character in literature whose entire story can be traced to other sources. Once those sources are laid bare, there is simply nothing left. Atwill's most intriguing discovery came to him while he was studying the Wars of the Jews by Josephus, the only surviving first person historical account of the first century Judea. Alongside the New Testament, I started to notice a sequence of parallels between the two texts he recounts. So let me say this. This Jesus, this white man that black people worship, comes that's the image of this man, Caesar Borgia, or Caesar Borgia, right? Caesar Borgia or Borgia was the lover of Leonardo da Vinci. And Leonardo da Vinci painted his picture, understand this, and for the Holy Roman Catholic Church to be the image of the new Christ that they were going to make people follow all over the place. All right? Thereby getting people to follow the white man as God. Oh, like most of you black women do that may accidentally listen to this video. All right? Now, for everybody else, the brothers and sisters, this is how you arm yourself with knowledge. Now, although it's been recognized by Christian scholars for centuries that the prophecies of Jesus will appear to be fulfilled by what Josephus wrote about in the first Jewish-Roman war, so Christian scholars understood everything to be fake. I was seeing dozens more. What seemed to have eluded many scholars is that the sequence of events and locations of Jesus' ministry are more or less the same sequences of events and locations of the military campaign of Emperor Titus Flavian. So everywhere that Flavian went, Titus Flavian, so did Jesus, as described by Josephus. When you lay the New Testament side by side with Titus' military campaign, they are still the same. So when you read the New Testament and the Gospels, You are actually reading the campaign of Titus from the point of view of Titus as doctored up and written by Josephus, a traitor. This is clear evidence of a deliberate constructive pattern. The biography of Jesus is actually constructed tip to stern on prior stories, but especially on the biography of Roman Caesar. How could this go unnoticed in the most scrutinized book of all time? Many of the parallels are conceptual or poetic, so they are all immediately obvious. After all, the authors did not want the average believer to see what they were doing, but they did want the alert reader to see it. Who didn't they want to see it? The average believer. Who did they want to see it? The alert reader. That means the alert reader is anybody that is a trained priest, preacher, or trained in the Christian theology. They see and understand this. Hermeneutics is the ability to take a scripture and turn it into something that doesn't mean what the scripture means, but can be played to get the people that you're preaching to think what you want them to think. There is an actual book called Hermeneutics or Hermeneutics that teaches preachers how to do this. Atwill maintains he can demonstrate that the Roman Caesars left us a kind of puzzle literature that was meant to be solved by future generations. And the solution to that puzzle is we invented Jesus Christ. We're proud of it. Dang! Not only did they did it, but like gangsters, they were proud of it. They went out like bosses. They wanted to let you know that they invented it, and they wanted to take credit for it. Why? To show how bold they are and how ingenious they are to get people for hundreds and thousands of years to follow something that they admit was utterly false. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. They're not the only ones that do it. That create something false, get people to follow it, then brag about it. See how dumb Christians are? See how dumb these people are? We got them to follow a false narrative, and they did it willingly. Again, this is them understanding how to write it so that the black people will understand it. As when they sacked the temple, they took all the stuff from the temple back to the Roman palaces to include the scriptures, scrolls. They took a copy of those with them and tried to have all the rest of the copies burned. But that didn't happen. Case in point, the Dead Sea Scrolls, which showed that the whole New Testament is a lie, and that much of what's in the Old Testament was kind of tweaked over to make the Romans or white people be seen in a favorable light, and to take power from the males and give it to the females. Because there's a book in the New Testament that does not exist in the Dead Sea Scrolls also. All right. And it gives power to the female. And I thought that was peculiar too. So he goes on to say, is this the beginning of the end for Christianity? Probably not, grants Atwill. But what my work has done is give permission to many of those ready to leave the religion to make a clean break. We've got the evidence to show exactly where the story of Jesus came from. Although Christianity can be a comfort to some, it also can be damaging and repressive and insidious form of mind control. Hold on. He said it could also be a very damaging, repressive, and insidious form of mind control that has led to the blind acceptance of serfdom, poverty, and war throughout history. And that is exactly what Christianity got us. To this day, especially in the United States, it is used to create support for war in the Middle East. It is. Atwill encouraged the skeptics to challenge him at Conway Hall, where after the presentation there is likely to be a lively question and answer session. Joining Mr. Atwill will be the fellow scholar Kenneth Humphreys, author of the book Jesus Never Existed. All right, this is who everybody is following. This is the image they wanted you to follow. And the Flavians bragged about it along with the Holy Roman Catholic Church, the same way they brag in when you go to when you're going to officially at 13 become a Catholic. All right, when you go to this, before you go to it, you read in their book, and they will tell you that Saturday is the Sabbath. No one is told to worship on Sunday scripturally, but and they brag on this, but this shows the power of the Catholic Church is because everybody worship on Sunday without no biblical evidence that they should do so, while all the time the biblical evidence states that Saturday is the Sabbath. All right? Confirmation. That's what you go through. Confirmation at 13. I know I was raised in a Catholic institution. That's the orphanage I was raised in. So I know a lot of this stuff. I understand a lot of this stuff. All right. The greatest pimp ever have been the Catholic Church. If you watch a Catholic mass, as boring as it is pimped out. Gold everywhere, the robes and stuff. Nobody pimps religion like the Catholic Church. And you see black preachers trying to get a hold to that with their fancy robes, looking like the cardinals, more like the Catholic cardinals than a black minister. All right. In all our ways, get an understanding. All right. This is what it is. So they have succeeded you in getting black women to brainwash their children into worshiping a white man to replace the Most High that has no form, right, with a white statue made by white people for the express consent of domination and brainwashing. And even when you tell them the truth, these black women ain't going to get it. But brothers, we will. And you sisters, we will. This is why sisters should have been looking for brothers like me instead of thugs in the first place. We would have been able to free their minds. But even now, with all this truth coming out, it's hardest for me to find a sister before I go to another country and find a not so sister that show love to a brother. And I didn't have to do nothing but be me. Funny how brothers have to hit the gym, get that six-figure income and stuff. But we have this kind of knowledge. And we're seen as ugly here, but handsome elsewhere. Interesting. Hey, y'all, let's not forget to get those thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, click that notification bell, okay? My donation link will be in the description box. All you got to do is click it, but make sure you take care of your home first. Take care of yourself first. If you have an abundance, hey, we will gladly appreciate it. Peace out, y'all.